of your hero. Think of the person you look up to the most. Think of the person that you think the world of. In your eyes, they can do no wrong. Do you have someone in mind? Now, think about having some sort of big event where you celebrate that one person. Think about having it in the Kennedy Center and people are going to be singing songs about them and reading stories about them. And just it's going to be this very hyped event. Everyone's going to be in glorious gowns or sharp tuxedos to honor this one hero of yours. Now imagine they pull up in their car and they get out and there's red carpet going right up the front steps of the Kennedy Center. Now pause. What kind of car did they get out of? Black, like a town car, at the very least, a limo, probably, perhaps. But not a bike, right? Not a beat up 1950s Volkswagen Beetle that is on its last legs. Today, Palm Sunday, is one weird celebration. The headline reads, "A king enters Jerusalem," and no one in their right mind would have finished the sentence. Not even Google, if you started typing this up, "King enters Jerusalem," would finish the sentence with, "on a donkey." It's absurd. And then it isn't as if there were some explanation that would have made sense. Well, the chariot broke down and it's in the shop, so we had to borrow something. No, Jesus, the supposed king, handpicks his vehicle of entry into the royal city, and he doesn't even have enough money to buy it himself. He has to borrow it. A donkey. What is this strange day we celebrate? Who is this strange king that we say we want to follow? Let us pray. Father, help us see your truth through Jesus Christ, who is the truth. Amen. Jesus handpicked a borrowed donkey for his big debut as Messiah, the kingly one God would use to fulfill all the promises and purposes of Israel. Let me say that again. Jesus handpicked a borrowed donkey for his debut as Messiah, the kingly one God would use to fulfill all the promises and purposes of Israel. This is the one they had been waiting for. All of this history of Israel, knowing that something was off, something was wrong, we're in the land, but we still feel like we're in exile. And how are they finally going to come back from exile? That would be the Messiah that would help them do that. And here comes the Messiah on a donkey. I don't know if you've heard this, but a lot of people say, well, Jesus fulfilled X number, I don't even know what the number is, X number of prophecies in the Old Testament that were messianic. Therefore, Jesus is Messiah. Now it might have it a little bit backwards. Here we see that Jesus is purposefully picking something, acting in a certain way that he knows will fulfill messianic prophecy. Does he not? He's not just stumbling around being like, oh, I didn't know the king would enter the Jerusalem on a donkey. I just like donkeys. Jesus knows what he's doing. Jesus knows the book of Zechariah, and he's saying, I'm picking this donkey to say something, to mean something as I enter. He knows perfectly well. So his disciples go into town and they find things a very certain and strange way. He says, just borrow this person, this stranger's donkey, and if they ask you, just say, the Lord has need of it. They go into town, they see it all exactly the way Jesus said. This is very important because the Passion Week, we call this the Passion Week, from Palm Sunday to Easter Sunday, things get out of control. And the disciples look back, and as they reflected on how out of control it got with Jesus being arrested and tried and executed and tortured, they look back and they said, but Jesus was in control of it all. Jesus knew what was happening. And even picking Zechariah. Zechariah is the most quoted. Zechariah is only 14 chapters long, and it's the most quoted Old Testament prophet for the Passion Week. So when the Passion Week starts rolling, you read Zechariah and you kind of sense, okay, this makes some sense. Jesus is in control as king, and he chooses a very specific vehicle to say something profound. Now, a little over 2 years ago, something newsworthy came out of Taiwan. The new mayor of Taipei, Ko Wen-je, is that close enough? Ko Wen-je. Okay. I was like, I'm reading it in English news, and I was like, I don't know if they're using Pinyin or what are they using. But if you remember, he was spotted using the, what was he using to get to work?
The metro.
The subway. And everyone was shocked. Because you don't do that. If you're the mayor of Taipei, you get really nice cars with tinted windows. You get bodyguards. What is the new mayor of Taipei doing in a subway? And it sparked all of these debates. And as even in China, they were wondering, who is this new mayor who is not acting very much like a politician? Now, he said that he wasn't going to be like the celebrity type. He's going to be doing things very different. But Ko's example made us dare to believe that there actually could be a politician who did not let power go to his or her head. There was a way for power to look different, for power to be humble in some way. What does Jesus' choice of transportation say about him? Handpicking a borrowed donkey is, as Matthew picks up on, a desire to fulfill a passage of Zechariah. Now that being said, it's more than just handpicking a text. What he's evoking in this symbolic action is much more than just proof texting one text. It's a shorthand way of saying a whole lot, and Jesus is the master of this, is he not? He will tell a very short little riddle of a parable. And if you don't really care much about Jesus, you hear that and you say, that's silly, that's dumb. Why isn't he just clear? He's just beating around the bush and you leave him. But if you want to know about Jesus and you dig into that parable, it is world-changing. It is life-changing. It is challenging on a whole other level. If you have eyes to see, if you want to understand and dig a little deeper, what Jesus says and does prophetically is profound. And apparently people got the message. Enough of them gathered and started laying things down to pave the road. This dirty, muddy road, and they're laying down their cloaks. They're getting palm branches to lay it down as this royal entry, making their own sort of red carpet for him to enter into Jerusalem. They got the message that Zechariah had prophesied a donkey-riding king would come. But did they get Zechariah's larger message? The prophetic books are weird, they're tricky. The prophetic books are one oracle after another, most likely public, most likely verbal. And these books are compilations of all of these different sayings, these different oracles throughout the time. So they're all put together in a bit of a mishmash of these different oracles. But Zechariah chapters 9 to 14 seem to be this collection of random oracles, but there seems to be a little bit of a pattern. Zechariah was one of the very few prophets writing after the exile. The exile was the uber punishment of God, promised in the laws of Moses, saying, if you don't listen, if you don't follow me, one day exile will come and you will have to leave this place. The northern kingdoms were exiled by the Assyrians in 722 BCE, and in 586, 587, the southern kingdom, who had kind of dodged a bullet with Assyria, the Babylonians come and take them into exile. Zechariah is prophesying after that. Everyone knows things are wrong, things are off, things are bad. So Zechariah is saying, when will God come back? When will the king finally come back? When will we finally be done with this exile garbage that we hate? When will God start to fulfill all the promises? Zechariah understands that God is going to return, but things are going to still be pretty bad, pretty messed up. If you read Zechariah 9 to 14, which doesn't take long, it's very, a quick read. But Zechariah talks about the leaders of the people as shepherds. And he says, you guys are shepherds, you're the leaders of my people, but you are preparing the sheep for slaughter. A shepherd is not supposed to eat their own sheep. That's not what they're there for. And so there's this criticism there. Zechariah speaks about violence and judgment coming, but also coming to the king, coming to the anointed one. There's actually this language of they will look at the one they have pierced. This is Zechariah speaking. The one who will ride in on a donkey will be one who is pierced. And the one who is pierced will create some sort of fountain that will quench the thirst of the people of Jerusalem. It's these beautiful, weird pictures and images that, of course, as Christians, we see Jesus' Passion Week and we say, this is what Jesus is doing. Jesus knows as he's coming in. Jesus knows he's going to die, right? He keeps saying, pick up your cross and follow me. He knows there's going to be a cross. He knows he's going to die. He knows this is the end. And he picks Zechariah because he's saying, remember all of these crazy images and how they come together in me. I am king, but I will be pierced. I am king, and there will be a fountain. I am king. Even in the midst of this becoming, unraveling in a weird and crazy and violent way, remember that I picked my vehicle. I'm trying to let you know that it's okay. It doesn't look okay. It won't feel okay. But I'm in control. Some people think that Jesus may be entering Jerusalem in a different gate, not the main gate. And some people wonder if King Herod was entering the other gate at the same time, which would be a very interesting thing. King Herod, the one true king, the one with the chariot, not the donkey, the one with the flashy armor and shields and swords and gold and ornate whatever, is coming in one way, and then this back door is this humble, donkey-riding, homeless man who some people are thinking is king. Isn't that interesting? We don't really hear much about King Herod in history. We only hear about King Herod because of Jesus, backwater Jesus, in relation to the history that Jesus made. In The Lord of the Rings, who has watched or read The Lord of the Rings? Yeah. If you remember Denethor II, Faramir and Boromir's father, he's in Gondor, the royal city. And is he on the throne? No. He is the steward of Gondor. That means he's not the king, he's not royalty. He's supposed to watch over and rule Gondor until there is one who can be king. Right? The last movie is called The Return of the King. And who is of royal blood that can take that throne? Aragorn. If you remember the scene in the movie when Gandalf comes with Pippin, and they have this conflict with Denethor, and they say, there's one who can take the throne, and he says, I know what you're up to. That royal line is so weak. He's a ranger? A ranger. Aragorn, you don't understand how wonderful he is. I mean, he cleans up pretty well after, the great battle and everything, but here's this homeless, violent, stealthy figure, Aragorn. You're telling me he's going to be king? And Denethor is rejecting that. It's not his place to reject the one true king. But he rejects the one true king. We are like Denethor. We tend to reject the one true king. We tend to reject Jesus. This is the challenge. Jesus is the one true king, but Jesus comes humbly. That's hard. We don't see, Jesus doesn't come with flash and sparkle. Jesus doesn't impress. Jesus comes into our lives very humbly. And unless we're looking, unless we understand, unless we have eyes to see, we won't understand who is this donkey rider coming into our life. Of course, Aragorn makes an amazing king because of his humble origins. I don't know, how is Mayor Ko doing in Taipei? Is he doing a good job? I almost said he did a good job. I have no idea about what he's doing. I shouldn't say he's doing a good job until I research this a little bit. But we're learning about King David as well. King David coming from humble origins, being a shepherd, and allowing his imagination as a shepherd. He loves his people. He would never slaughter his people because he's a shepherd. He knows every single one of the sheep is important. And so David, for the most part, is a great king because of humble origins. But here is this King Jesus, this strange king, this strange Messiah who handpicks a borrowed donkey as his vehicle to display the nature of his reign, the nature of his power. And the only problem with such glorious humility is that it's easy to miss. Jesus entered into Jerusalem, a world of untold beauty, power, and violence, just as beautiful, powerful, and violent as our own. Jesus entered in profound humility, a marginalized, homeless man with nothing to his name, walking purposefully towards the most shameful death and torture of his day. All to die a helpless death at the hands of the greatest power on earth. And this is our King. I don't know if that bothers you. It bothers me. It makes me have to go back and rethink and pray and wonder, what does this mean? That the King we worship is this kind of King. To marvel at that paradox of power and humility, to be disturbed by that, to let it disturb us, and to imagine new ways to lead from that. Follow him in that, and do not think yourself above him. He is our one true King, and in him we cry Hosanna, which means God save us. Let us pray. Jesus, our humble King, help us not to miss you, because you are humble, you come in humility. And we thank you that you have shown us a way of power that is so unlike the power that is normally on display in our world. Help us, humble us, that we might follow you in this, to lead in life-giving ways instead of life-taking ways. Help us to see this beautiful mosaic that Zechariah painted in his prophecies as a challenge to us about what power looks like. We pray this all in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.